Up next on Eco Company,
hidden creatures underneath the sand.
Bet you didn't know these guys were in there. And while they may look small, don't let that fool you.
Crabs may sound boring, but especially off the coast of California, they actually play a really big role in the ecosystem.
Why they're so important, and how these teens are keeping tabs on them.
Plus, who doesn't love a pumpkin? Especially when it's a pumpkin as big as this.
Not even as big as they're gonna get.
It's just one thing these guys are growing at their school, in a garden they built themselves from the ground up.
And talk about taking things into your own hands.
Half and half? Yeah, that's perfect.
Meet some teens pitching in to green up their school cafeteria, one head of lettuce at a time.
Then, keeping toxic chemicals out of our environment.
You always gotta label your containers, folks. This is a big no-no.
What everyone should know about toxic products we use every day, and how to get rid of them safely. Eco Company
starts now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Eco Company. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Jordan. So what do you do on a chilly, breezy day at the beach?
If you're the teens we're about to meet, you get wet.
But what's a little cold water when it's all in the name of science?
It's all in a morning's work for these guys. This isn't what many people think of as a typical day at the beach.
7.
But it is for these guys. They're high school students and careers in science interns at the California Academy of Sciences. It's a multi-year education program for budding scientists. Today, interns like Jasmine Petway are on the hunt for something hidden beneath the sand. And that's these little guys, the Pacific mole crab. What exactly do you have right there?
This is a big sand crab. It's 26 millimeters.
Wow.
And it's a female without eggs.
We get to go out and dig for sand crabs every Wednesday, and I've been doing that for 2 summers now.
And if that water looks chilly, that's because it is.
The water's pretty cold, but I mean, after a few minutes, your feet kind of get numb and then you get used to it.
Christian Paz doesn't mind braving the cold in the name of research.
Oh yeah, for science, everything's worth it.
Their job here? To find out how healthy the sand crab population is along the stretch of coastline.
Crabs may sound boring, but especially off the coast of California, they actually play a really big role in the ecosystem.
They're at the bottom of the food chain, so they are really super important. Sea lions eat them, birds eat them.
Surf perch is the top predator in this ecosystem, but over 90% of its diet is these sand crabs alone.
So this could affect the entire food chain if they are wiped out or anything. Right.
And so by collecting this data, we want to do it not just over 1 year, but over many, many years, so that we can have this record of data.
Gigapaths.
During the summer, interns take 50 samples a week. First they do a transect to narrow down their study area. Then it's down to business. Kylie Wong and Hadrian Kwan,
The tidal height,
are project supervisors.
2 meters and rising. We take these, what are called cores. They're just a little cylinder. We dig them into the ground, and when we haul these cores out of the ground, we sort of sift through all the sand we find, and we look at the sand crabs that we collect.
Oh, there are so many.
They're doing 2 things.
9R.
Measuring how big they are, and also determining if they're male or female.
So what do you have right there?
So here we have a sand crab with eggs. So
Wow, it's bright orange. So those are all the eggs, right?
Yep.
And so is it a good thing to see these eggs? I mean, then you know that they're reproducing and right?
yeah, generally the sign of a healthy population when you find at least a few females with eggs.
We have to measure every single one that's above 10.
Eric Godoy manages the Careers in Science program and makes sure these guys have the tools they need.
And what's great about these youth is that they're so engaged with science and doing so much to really understand the natural world around them.
It's not a study that happens overnight. The Academy's been keeping tabs out here for 8 years and counting.
What's critical to a monitoring program is we're seeing what changes are happening over a long period of time. And in that time, we've noticed up until actually this year, a really big decline in the number of sand crabs.
This year, we haven't found many. A couple years ago, we had found 10 of these a day, each week.
It's time to pack things up at the beach, but the work doesn't end there. Next, it's back to intern headquarters at the Academy to make their findings official. They enter all their stats into a Sandy Beach long-term monitoring database. It's a project of the Farallones Marine Sanctuary Association.
So this is very important data that we've been able to provide for many other institutions.
That data gets put into like the larger picture, and so it's kind of cool that like us as youth can contribute to like the scientific community.
After that, they're still not done. Next up, it's a turn on the academy floor, where interns educate the public about climate change and global warming.
That's actually one of the major parts of our, what we talk about on the public floor, what interns are basically taught to teach to a lot of visitors.
One of the aspects that we think is important for the Careers in Science program is to really educate these youth about climate change and the impact that it has on life.
It's really good for kids who might be from the city and they might not know these problems, but they come out and they learn a lot, and so they're ready to teach other people about them.
So whether it's inside or out, their mission is to explore, explain, and protect the world around us all.
The more information we have, the more we can really understand about the world.
And our goal is to propel them into that science career, and it's fantastic to see them get so engrossed by the process of science and by really doing a lot of the activities that professional scientists would do.
And also it's really good for youth to be involved because this is what's happening to us, and I mean, it might sound corny, but we are the future.
And as the saying goes, the future is what we make of it.
So how do you get outside when school's in session?
It's simple. Build a garden. Plant some of your favorite fruits and veggies.
And you've got your very own outdoor classroom.
Let's check out some teens who did just that.
Shaking things up, sanding them down, and rounding up some feathery friends.
Like they were just kind of sitting in one of the beds.
Not what we'd call your average day at school.
We're gonna lift up and over.
Unless you're a student at Woodside High's Green Academy in Northern California. The Green Academy is a school within a school, and it gets students outside to really dig into environmental issues.
This class, we work out here in the garden, which is great. It's just nice to be outside on a beautiful day like this.
It's a 3-year program for sophomores through seniors. Marin Aldrich coordinates the program.
Our focus here is environmental issues.
Environmental issues like replacing fossil fuels with two-wheeled transportation and using renewable energies like solar power, even out here.
So we'll be using these to charge the battery that's in the back, and it will power the lights during the winter to keep the chickens warm.
We caught Cassie Lamphere and Minda Newhouse on roundup duty.
This black and white one right here is Tuffy. Right here we have Lizzie Bruin, and this is Too Tall just because he has taller red thing.
These chickens have the students to thank for the garden and very roof over their head. Eric Cisna and his classmates built all of this themselves.
We basically filled in all these wood chips and filled the garden beds with soil. We built the chicken coop. I mean, it was basically nothing up here.
Everything you see growing up was just dirt and like poison oak at some point.
It was endless work and very inspiring to see the students do all the work. Eric, why don't you come around to this side?
Making sure these guys have all the tools they need is part of Josh Rubin's job as a teacher at the academy.
Everybody's in charge of a certain plot of land, and they're given a full semester to grow their crops and hopefully produce as much food as possible to share with the class, to let the students take the food home.
So what's growing here? Just about everything.
So we have fruit trees just planted around here. This is a lime tree. They were planted last year, so they're not very big yet, but in a couple of years they'll get big and they'll start producing fruit.
And you can tell these guys like their tomatoes.
Yeah, we planted a lot of tomatoes.
And who doesn't love a pumpkin?
So these are not even as big as they're gonna get. They're still gonna get much bigger.
They even have peas growing on an arbor the students built.
It makes us really happy to see that we built something like that in the garden.
Today they've spent the day clearing out these beds, and now it's time to plant some broccoli. And they make the compost right here too.
These leaves, which were gathered around the school, that we're composting now, instead of having to just sit around, we're turning them into soil and putting them back in our beds.
We built this up with our own hands. We were there when we planted in the seedlings, and now that we get to eat the tomatoes, now that we get to eat the squash, and now we get to experience it. It's very heartfelt to be here almost because it's kind of been like our home.
Now the only thing that seems to be missing is the barn. But wait, they've got that too. This is the bike barn, and it's a busy place these days.
So I like to call it the recycle shop. We're recycling bicycles.
We're taking in bikes that people donate to us, and we're fixing them up and getting people to ride bikes every day to school instead of using their cars.
Julio Vargas manages the shop and makes sure repairs run smoothly. Bikes they can't fix get taken apart, and their parts are recycled too.
Well, I love being in the Green Academy because we're trying to reduce our carbon footprint and make the planet greener.
It's all a part of the Academy's mission to educate and inspire these teens to make a difference.
If we didn't have trees and stuff, and if everything just died because there was a huge layer of CO2 over the world, we wouldn't even be here. This wouldn't even be happening.
People don't know their environmental impact and what they're doing to the planet. We could end up destroying the planet.
We're the generation where we have been handed down a lot of issues and a lot of problems. So in school especially, to be educated on environmental issues and the environmental impacts that we're going to be encountering today, I think it's so important because we want to save this beautiful place that we have. Go Green Academy!
Don't have a garden at your school?
No worries, that's what farms are for. Later, the scoop on Gleaning and how it's helping these students green up their school cafeterias.
And next, saying goodbye to toxic chemicals the right way. We visit a hazardous waste facility to find out how to get rid of all this stuff safely. More Eco Company is next.
One big way to protect the planet.
Don't pollute it with chemicals.
Adam's giving us the lowdown on how to get rid of them safely.
So we all know what to do with our trash. Hopefully recycle it, otherwise it gets sent to a landfill. But what do we do with all those toxic chemicals in our household? These guys are going to tell us what to do with them.
This probably isn't what you imagine when you think of a drive-thru. This is one where you pull up and drop off this stuff. We're talking hazardous chemicals, stuff that's in common household products that end up in our garages. Even fuels, paints, and car batteries make the list.
So what do the customers do here?
Okay, they will bring their hazardous waste from home, stuff like cleaners, pesticides, fertilizers that they don't need anymore, and they bring it to us so they can be disposed properly.
Chabelo Gomez is a compliance technician with Recology. It handles waste for the city of San Francisco.
So let's talk about what just came in. It looks like we got an assortment of just about every type of chemical I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much. We have a range from paint, aerosols, pesticides or insecticides. So this is pretty much an average of what we get from a customer.
The Environmental Protection Agency defines household hazardous waste as waste dangerous or harmful to our health or the environment. And the agency says the average U.S. household generates more than 20 pounds of it each year. And with labels like these, you know you can't mess around with this stuff.
Is it the ingredients in it that makes it hazardous?
Yes, it is ingredients, and a lot of them are carcinogens.
If you don't get rid of them the right way, it can create big problems. Chemicals can leach into the groundwater and pollute the environment, and even make people sick.
The improper way to dispose of this will be put them in the trash.
Sounds
we don't
bad.
want them in the trash. Yeah.
Sounds way too simple.
Yeah, it's way too simple and way too dangerous.
Here, they've got the formula down pat. Everything that gets dropped off gets itemized for detailed records. Then it's sent to the proper bin, so it can be sent to the appropriate waste stream. Of course, they recycle everything they can. This room is reserved for the most dangerous chemicals, like acid. They even have a lab to handle those unknowns.
So there's no label on this one. What do you do about that?
Okay, when we get stuff that is not labeled, we have to analyze it.
So, you always got to label your containers, folks. This is a big no-no.
Don't forget mercury-filled CFLs, and halogen lamps are considered hazardous waste too. So as you can imagine, in a warehouse filled with flammable materials, safety is important.
We have to have explosion-proof plugs. That means that no sparks are coming out of there, so we're safe.
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
Sometimes these guys even need to suit up. Twice a day, this door goes down, and technicians head inside armed with masks and protective gear. It's where they open latex paint cans one by one. They recycle the good paint by mixing it into new colors here. Paint that's past its prime ends up in here.
Latex paint is basically water-based paint, and this is how it looks. This is the paint that we're not gonna be able to recycle here because it's old or it's not the right color.
It's sent off to be mixed into concrete, while the recycled paint they mix here is stored until it's given away to the public for free.
Basically, we can say that we recycle 100% of latex paint in here.
It's something that makes Chabello excited to come to work, knowing he's helping us take care of a big problem.
My message to people is that instead of putting your hazardous waste into the garbage, please try to do the right thing, bring it to us. We have the resources to properly dispose of the materials.
A reminder for us all to keep our environment toxin-free.
So what's in your school's cafeteria?
Coming up, one way you can get fresh fruits and veggies on the menu.
More Eco Company is next.
Growing your own food is great, but if you can't, that's okay. It's not the only way to green up your cafeteria.
There's another way of getting healthier food into schools, and it's turning students into farmers in the process.
If you like your leafy greens, then you've come to the right place, because these fields of green are prime for the picking. Or should we say, gleaning?
Half and half? Yeah, that's perfect. Gleaning is harvesting food that would otherwise be left in the field. It's leftover field for the people.
It's different. I've never done it before. It's fun, though. I like it.
Why would someone leave all this food behind? Can you believe it's because of looks?
Over 20% of all food that we grow, in this case perfectly fine certified organic food, gets plowed under because our market restrictions are so tight. Right? The requirements for what a lettuce needs to look like or the color of a potato, if it's a little off, it doesn't get harvested.
That's something Marin Organic is doing something about. The nonprofit is trying to get more gleaned food into schools. Helga Hellberg is the executive director.
Our kids need to eat better at schools. It's really quite embarrassing what we feed them most of the time, and usually it comes down to a budget question. Marin Organic believes that we can feed all the children in this country healthy local organic food if we just use the food that we can glean.
That's what brought Reba Darcy and Brianna Levi Smith out here today. They're pitching in to glean lettuce that'll be brought back to their high school.
I think gleaning's important because it's like to better our lives, it's to make us healthier. It's putting less toxins in our body.
It's very important because I know a lot of kids like complain about our school lunches and they're not good at all. And so if we bring like fresh foods and all that, they'll be happy. We'll get to eat happily for once.
Whip it like Zorro, like a sword. Kind of do like a whip it down and pull up. Zorro method, like that, and it breaks off real nicely.
There's so much extra food, and there's a lot of people that are hungry or unhealthy and could use this food.
Chester Densmore works for the Marin Organic School Lunch Program. It's his job to get this stuff from nearby farms to school kitchens several times a week.
I feel like I have one of the best truck driving jobs in the country because I go around and I pick up food from the local small organic farms, and then I deliver that food on the same day as I pick it up to the school cafeteria.
This delivery is to the Novato Unified School District in Northern California. It's where Miguel Villarreal heads up food and nutrition services. Not only will this gleaned lettuce wind up on the menu,
we'll use them either in our salads or to make sandwiches with.
These tomatoes will too. And best of all of it's free.
We've gleaned it. There's actually no cost associated to it. So, for example, we've gleaned today 50 boxes of lettuces. And so that value for us is about anywhere between a $500 to $600 value. In this economy where there's the budgets are really tight, it allows me to take that extra $500 to $600 and then purchase some additional organic products.
After it's delivered, washed, diced or chopped. The journey ends at the cafeteria lunch line.
It's nice to pick like food that is going to your school. It's really close.
It's much fresher than the stuff we get at school and the stuff we usually eat. It's better this way.
It's a model these food activists hope to spread around the nation.
You can do this in any community USA because there's many different sites that you can glean. You can glean community gardens. You can glean community neighborhoods.
It's a win-win-win all around. Hail to the lettuce. Thank you guys. Good job. Woo! Good job, everybody.
If your campus is doing something to go green,
We want to hear about it.
grab your video camera and start rolling.
Create a video and upload it to our website at eco-company.tv. Well, that does it for us this week. Thanks for watching.
Be sure to check us out on the web at eco-company.tv and on our Facebook page
We'll see you next time
on Eco Company.